Good morning. It's Friday, it's Friday, it's Friday. Okay. I think I'm gonna go because I decided to come on here right after coming out of my moment in prayer, and I'll do my little morning walk after this. Friday, the word of the day. Have not really had a word of the day all week, but it's something about Fridays. I don't know what it is about the Lord, me, Fridays. I say Friday. Fridays are prophetic. That's what I just believe. Somebody's air conditioner is a little loud. Let me let my window up. But the word for the day is preparation. Preparation. That I woke up with that in my spirit. I saw some things, don't remember quite all the things that I saw, but I woke up with this one thing, if I didn't get nothing else, it was this one assurance, being prepared. The image of somebody coming to get you out of a room, take you into the back, get you ready so that they can represent you. And when you're represented, you don't look like what you look like when you left out of the room the original time. And now for me, the first thing that came to my mind was the bride. Was a bride being adorned in a garment, adorned in jewels. Obviously, for me, I said not natural but spiritual. But when the Lord takes you and he prepares you, and I thought of Esther and the other young women, that they were prepared for a year. They went through the beauty treatments for a year. And as I sat with the Lord this morning and I prayed about some things and cried about some things, and it was just this overwhelming sense of peace and this overwhelming sense of gratitude of whatever July stands for, whatever is waiting. Like in this month, the spirit shifted coming out of June, coming into this month, that everything that has been coming up against you, everything that I know has been coming up against me, we made it out of the month of June. Making it out of the month of June was significant. I don't know what the significant is, but there are things that are held up in the month of July. And because we endured the hard season, because we endured when it felt like we were walking through the valley of the shadow of death, when we were walking and we didn't understand, how is it that God told me to do the things that he's told me to do, and this is the benefit, this is what I'm looking at, this is the result. It wasn't without purpose. And so as I sat, the scripture that came to me that I had to turn to was 1 Kings chapter 18. And it's the preparation and in the spirit to get ready for the abundance of rain, because it's coming. This is not the first time that I spoke this. I think this came to me back in maybe February or March. But it's back. 1 Kings chapter 18, and I'm not reading it. This is where Elijah is basically having this moment with the prophets of Baal, and he's basically telling them, hey, you want to know who the real God is? Let's make a sacrifice. Do all these different things. Well, Baal never responds. Baal doesn't show up, but God does. God shows up, and there is this offering, this sacrifice that is made to the Lord. And afterwards, Elijah has all these prophets of Baal come, and they're all killed. They're all slaughtered based off the law of the Lord. And shortly after, Elijah tells let me go over here and make sure that I have it in order. Elijah tells King Ahab, he says, go up and drink, for there is the sound of the roar of an abundance of rain. Well, Elijah sends his servant to go look toward the sea. And it says he went and there was nothing. So Elijah sent him 7 times. He sent him back 7 times. And it says, at the 7th time, the servant said, a cloud as small as a man's hand is coming up from the sea. And Elijah said, go up and say to Ahab, prepare your chariot and go down so that the rain shower does not stop you. In a little while, the sky grew dark with clouds and winds, and there were heavy showers. And Ahab mounted and rode his chariot and went inland to Jezreel. When I read it, and that same word came up again, prepare, preparation, preparation, preparation. And this is the word that I got this morning from the Lord. You won't have evidence of the 3.5-year drought with the pour that is about to come. What does that mean? Let me say this. I don't know if this word is going to hit nobody else like it hits me. The last 3.5 years of my life have been like, I don't know what. The last 3.5 years of my life, the Lord spoke some things to me. And I understood that what he spoke to me, I knew that the version of me that he was speaking to was not the version of me that was going to see it. I understood that there was going to be transformation. I understood there was going to be growth. I understood there was going to be maturity. I understood I was going to have to heal from some things, that I was going to have to sit down and look at myself. But also I knew that the Lord was going to do some things with me that I was not even yet aware of, that I was going to have to become a version of myself that I had never been, and a version of myself that, quite honestly, I didn't even have the cognitive ability to know who was waiting on the other side of the transformation, who was waiting on the other side of obedience, who was waiting on the other side of surrender, who was waiting on the other side of submission, who was waiting on the other side of a woman who had to learn to trust in God. And I had to thank him this morning that I've learned to trust in God. I've had to thank him that in these 3.5 years of my life, I have learned that I'm willing to do it afraid. I've learned that I would rather walk through the unknown than to disobey him because of fear, to disobey him because I didn't trust in what he was telling me to do, because I didn't trust him. But what he's given me, to make it so simple, is this: the rain that is about to come is going to almost make it look like there was never a drought. The sudden rain, the abundance that is getting ready to pour out into those who have been walking faithfully with the Lord. He says the rain that is getting ready to come in this month, the rain that is getting ready to come in the latter part of the year of 2026, the rain that is getting ready to pour, it's going to make it look like there was never a 3.5-year drought. Now, let me say this. You're going to remember the drought. You're going to remember what it did to you. You're going to remember how it felt. You're going to remember. But when you look at your life, when you look at your circumstances, when you look at your surroundings, there will not be evidence. So wherever there's been drought, wherever it seems like it's been parched, wherever it seems like it's been dry, that is the very area. Those are the very areas. And let me say this, there's going to be abundance in your whole life. I remember 3 years ago, a question was asked. It was like, what is God telling you right now? And I remember my response was, he's telling me, don't worry, provision has already been made for you. I thought provision was coming way sooner than now. But as I remembered, as that came to my memory this morning, it was just that thing to be able to say, Ladisha, he knew what he was going to take you through. He knew what he was going to strip. He knew what he was going to require. Elijah Let me see. It had to be Elijah had just came from a place where the Lord had sent him to the brook. Was he already at the brook? Let me make sure I'm not lying to y'all. Let me make sure I'm not lying. Yes, where he had been at a brook. He'd been in a place where the Lord had fed him and used the ravens, used an unclean bird to feed him. When the brook got dry, he gave him another instruction, and he said, "Hey, I want you to go over here. I want you to go over here, and I want you to go be with this widow." And the Lord made provision for that household with Elijah, and I want to say the woman of Zarephath. He made provision, but it got to the time to where the same man who predicted the drought, he opened his mouth and said, the drought that's been here for 3.5 years, there is getting ready to be an abundance of rain. And it came quickly. And what I looked at when I read this, when I read it again, was that it said Elijah sent the servant 7 times. And the 7th time, he says that I see a small cloud the size of a man's fist. And Elijah knew, I don't care how small it looks right now, it's coming quickly. I don't care if you didn't see it, you're going to see it suddenly. But what does the number 7? I looked and I said, well, God, this is the 7th month. This is the month where things are turning around. This is the month where things are shifting. This is the month where there is an abundance. This is a month where we are going to get ready to see overflow. This is the month where we are going to see rain. It has been dry. Okay? The Bible says, forget the former things. Think not on the things of the past. For God is about to do a new thing. Do you not see it? He says, do you not perceive it? Do you not have expectation? Ready or not, it's getting ready to come. I know that it's been dry. I know that it's not felt good. I know you probably been looking around like, God, I know you didn't bring me this far just to lead me this far and leave me here. But he says, no. There is an abundance of rain. There is an outpour. There are blessings with your name on it. And he has to send a word to say, get ready, get ready, get ready. Make preparation, make preparation, make preparation. Let me say this. You will not have room enough to receive this. This is going to be net breaking. That's just what and let me say this. God can only bless you up until your level of expectation. I have gone through so much. I'm not going to say that I lost anything. But the Lord has spoken to me so many times, and he hasn't taken things. He said, Ladisha, let this go. Ladisha, let this go. Ladisha, let this go. Ladisha, let this go. Let this go. Forgive this. Forgive the sin. He said, forgive the debt. Because it's already been paid. It's already been covered. It's already in full. And what I love and what I look at, because it goes along with this same scripture in 1 Kings 18, before the rain came, what happened? Elijah went up against the Baal prophets. Their God didn't show up. But before Elijah spoke that there was going to be an abundance of rain, right before, there was a mass slaughtering of those Baal prophets. What were they doing? The idol worshipers died. The idols had to be torn down. So this is what I've seen in the last 3.5 years. What is it that God could have been doing? He was stripping idols out of our lives. He was stripping gods that we didn't know that we had before him. He was stripping us from walking in our own ways. He was stripping us from leaning to our own understanding. There were great things that were happening in these 3.5 years. There wasn't just a drought that looked like it was happening in the natural. There was a drought that was happening in the spirit realm, that God was having to kill some things, that some of us had altars built up on our lives that we didn't open the door for, but they were open in the generation. They were open in the bloodline, but our obedience has allowed for there to be a drought with unclean altars. The 3.5 years has allowed for us to renounce and denounce some things. Though the 3.5 years has given us time to repent and get it right and learn how to walk in alignment. 3.5 years, some of us have learned how to live a consecrated life. For 3.5 years, some of us have had to learn what it's like to say, I am sanctified. To live a life of sanctification. What is sanctification? To be set apart by God. For 3.5 years that he's had to break us, he's had to strip us, he's had to mold us, he's had to make us into the image that he knew for us to be. But not only was God making, God was having to undo everything that the earth told us that we were. He was having to undo every lie. He was having to undo every curse. He was having to do all these strongholds and all of these different things. And for those who have been in the place that he's needed us to be. We've been in the wilderness. We've been in the valley. We've gone through drought. We've allowed for things to be taken, and we might have fought. We might have wrestled like Jacob. But the word of the Lord is now he's pulling us back. And let me tell you the significance of being pulled back. There are things, I'm going to leave it at that. There are things that I had to tell him the day I said, God, I feel not the tension. I want to say I guess it's like some kind of resistance, but a good resistance. I can feel the difference of knowing there's a lot of things right now that I cannot entertain. There's a lot of things that I cannot be involved in. There's a lot of things that I can't accept into my atmosphere. There's a lot of things that I can't let into my territory. I can't explain it other than saying it that simple because I want to keep it vague. There's just some things that I'm not able to do. There's certain conversations I'm just not able to have. Certain dynamics that have just shifted, and I understand that it's because the Lord has pulled me in. The Lord has pulled me close. Why? Because he's preparing me. He's adorning me. And I don't believe I'm the only one, that there may be somebody and you say, I don't understand that it just feels like he's pulling me away from over there. He's pulling me away from them. He's pulling me away from this. And this is the thing, not because they've done anything, not because anybody's done anything wrong, but God is making preparation. And preparation can sometimes feel like you're hidden, but this isn't the kind of hiding where he's about to take you through into the cave or into the wilderness. No, this is the kind of hiding where you've been with everybody and you've been surrounded by people, but then all of a sudden he pulls you in quickly. And this is the thing, people don't even realize that you're gone. They don't even realize that you're missing. They don't even realize that your presence isn't even there the same. And by the time that they recognize that, wait a minute, she's not been here. She's not been present. He's not been here. He's been absent. That's about the same time that God is getting ready to reveal you again. And I call it this, represent. He's getting ready to represent us into some of the same rooms that he called us out of. He's getting ready to represent us into some of the same doors, into some of the same opportunities. But we have to allow the Holy Spirit to pull us close and prepare us for what the Lord is ready to do. There is a new wardrobe for where you're going. There is a new sound for the version of you that's getting ready to show, and a new identity that you're going to have to walk into. So let me say this, just like Jesus died and went into the tomb, but Jesus was transformed. They didn't really recognize him when they saw him after he was risen from the grave. There are going to be those where God is going to represent you. Okay, there we go. What was I saying? So yeah, there are going to be some places that he's not necessarily going to represent you into new places and new avenues and new people. But what he is doing, the transformation, let me say this, the abundance that's getting ready to come, it's coming in the very same area where there's been drought. So there are going to be things that as he pulls you in, as he prepares you, he's getting you ready for the grand reveal. He's getting you ready. Just like Elijah sent the word to Ahab, the abundance is coming. You better go get ready so that the rain doesn't overtake you. Get ready so that you can make it into the city and the rain doesn't overtake you. Y'all, this is just a word to say get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. It's coming. It's get ready. It's a guarantee. It's that same thing that ready or not, here it comes. Get ready. That's all that I have. You better see it. You better see it. Elijah sent the servant. He said 7 times. Elijah already knew. He wasn't worried about what that man said. Let me say this. I don't care what it looked like. I don't care if you go back 6 times. He said he went 7 times. 7 is the end of a thing. 7 means it's finished. But let me say that 7, it ended the drought. But 7 to me is the same as an automatic new beginning. He didn't have to go back the 8th time, because when that thing ended, the moment that drought ended, abundance came into fruition. This is the 7th month. We don't have to wait until July is over. We don't have to wait until August. I'm saying 7 because everything that happened before now is done with. It's over. Abundance is already my portion. And if you believe it, then you need to claim that abundance is already your portion. Some stuff gonna die, but some stuff gonna get raised. That's just how I look at it. If the Lord has been dealing with you and telling you, let it go, drop the weight, drop the debt, drop this, forgive that. Listen, it is with reason. Because there is an abundance that is getting ready to come to you. And if you can let the old things go, you will have capacity to receive the new. I think it was T.D. Jakes. He says the old man is dead. When he preached about Nabal and Abigail, he says the old man is dead. When the old man dies, something new can come. When that old thing is dead, when you drop it, when you release it, there is an abundance. So do not weep, because I'm going to tell you, joy, this is already here. Mourning may have endured for a night. Weeping may have endured for a night. But this is the month of joy. This is the month of gladness. This is the month of abundance. This is the month of rain. But I'm not just saying the month. I'm saying the rest of the year. That what is going to happen in the month of July, we're going to see it catapult. It's just going to be the beginning of a new beginning. It's just the beginning of a new beginning. A beginning of a new beginning. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard, nor has it entered the hearts of man of what the Lord is about to do. Okay? That's the word. I got some specific things that I know in my life. It ain't for me to come on here and talk about. We all have different areas. I'm just coming to give the word in general. You got to know. You got to have some idea what your drought has been. You have to have some idea of the promises that the Lord has spoken to you. You got to know. You got to know. And I know for the last 3.5 years, I said, oh, Lord, I have wondered and I have debated. And last night, my baby asked me a question. We were taking the trash out and I said, hey, let's walk the sidewalk and let's, go down the road a little bit. It was dark. It was like 8 something. And we held hands and she had on her little glow shoes. And she was, so basically she was like, hey, mama, we can see. And she asked me a question. She said, what did you want to be when you grew up? She said, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you were an adult? And I was like, it was something about that question that made me giddy on the inside, like that little childlike faith. And I told her, I said, you know what I really wanted? I said, what I really wanted was to be a mom. I said, no, I wanted to be a wife. I said, because I wanted a family. I said, I wanted to be a wife and I wanted to be a mom. I said, I think that was like my number one. And she said, yeah, well, you're already a mom. She said, well, you're a mom now. And I said, yeah. And I thought to myself, but it ain't how I wanted it. I didn't say it to her, but I was like, but the order, it's not how I wanted it. And I allowed myself to dream again in that moment, talking to her inwardly. And I said to myself, I said, you may not be a wife yet, but it's coming. my baby, she said, you're already a mom. She got excited, and I told her, I said I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I said, I think about it, I think I'm already doing that. I said I wanted to be a therapist. I said, you know what, in a way, I'm already doing that. And I told her, I said I wanted to be a midwife. I wanted to deliver babies. And then silently I said to myself, and Ladisha, in a way, you kind of already do that. Not to deliver natural babies, but in the spirit, I know that the Lord has called me and equipped me to help people deliver their babies that they carry in the spirit realm. And this morning, I was still on that question before I got out of the bed. And once I got up, I said to myself, I said, you know what you really wanted to be when you were an adult? You wanted to be happy. It wasn't about a career. When I was a child, my greatest desire when I was an adult, I wanted to be happy. And I wanted to be happy with a happy family. I wanted a family that loved me, and I wanted a family that I could love. I wanted somebody who loved me, and I wanted somebody that I could love. And then because of that love, I wanted to bring children into the earth that we could love together well. That's really what I wanted growing up. When I was a kid, I just wanted to be happy. And to somebody, it was like, you know, and she told me what she wanted to be last night. She said, Mama, I want to be a baby doctor. She said, and I want to be a singer. She said, you know what? I think I can do both. Absolutely. And if you want to do something else, let's think about it. And so I listened to my baby as we were walking in the dark with her little light up shoes on. And it tickled me because as I held her hand and as we walked back home, I was like, it's dark. She was like, yeah, it's getting a little scary. It was the peace and it was the ease that I felt on the inside of myself. And I realized this is all I ever wanted. It was never about money. It was never about my name being known. It was never about any of these things. All I wanted as a little girl was to be happy. All I wanted was a peaceful household. I wanted the complete opposite of what I was growing up in. And this was around like the age of 8 or 9. I just wanted the opposite of what I saw every single day. I just wanted love to be around me. I wanted somebody to love, and I wanted somebody who loved me. And I wanted my own children to be able to look after and take care of. And if I got that, to me, that was going to be the best life. And I wanted to stay at home. I didn't want to go out and work. That's what and the more I spoke those things, I realized I'm doing that. I'm doing that. I'm doing that. And I told her, I said, you know what, Emery? I said, I also wanted to I wanted to write a book. I wanted to write a book about my childhood. I said, you know what? I did that. I did that. And something that I said, I was going to mention it because, y'all, this is the thing. Sometimes we just need a reminder. I did it. Sometimes we just need a reminder of how far we've already come and how far we've already made it and how far God has already brought us. And this beautiful girl right here, and this is the only one that I have left, I think, too. It's already signed. I might just need to give it away because I've given away all the rest of my books. But this has been my reminder for myself the past 2 days. Ladisha, you're an author. You're a published author. You wrote the book. And how things happen in my life, they've never been beautiful, but that's from broken to beautiful. Nothing has ever started off beautiful for me. Nothing has ever really been easy. And I'm grateful because my faith has grown. And I said, God, this morning as I prayed, I said, I'm grateful. I'm so thankful for everything that I've been through. I'm thankful. I said, because I remember writing this book starting this book in September of 2023. I prayed or September, October. I didn't know. I finished it in April. The day after I finished writing my first manuscript, I found out that my mama was sick. They were like, we didn't know the severity of it. And I didn't know how this was going to be published because I didn't know a way. And all I could do was pray. And I said, God, I believe that this is what you have for me. I was excited because not only did I start the book, but I had finished the first manuscript. To me, that was a blessing. And I remember somebody telling me in June, they said, you need to, they said, pray. You've been faithful with your tithing. They said, God says, you know, that he sees you as faithful. They said, talk to him because he knows what you need financially. So have the conversation with him. And I was like, I didn't like to talk to God about money. I was like, it was, I don't know, it felt strenuous. And I remember doing that. And at the end of June, there was just this something in me that I knew God is going to do what I asked. He's about to answer the prayer. But this is what I knew. And I'm going to be honest with you. I knew it was about to come in a way that I wouldn't have prayed for. And I remember thinking to myself, God, don't let this be the way. But I didn't say it out loud. And it was like I began to grieve before grief would look like it was even necessary. The next month, which is this month in July, my mama left. My mama was gone. And I'm you know what? I'm not gonna put a mask on. I'm gonna be very transparent. I'm gonna be very honest. There was in that time that the Lord, the Holy Spirit, when I say he'll pull you close to prepare you, okay? I'm not speaking from just this one encounter. I'm speaking because I've been here a couple of times in my lifetime. I'm not going to say the Lord. The Holy Spirit pulled me close in July. And I was in my word more. It was like every time I looked around, I kept picking up my Bible. I was turning on, my instrumental worship music. And I said it. I didn't understand what was happening, but I didn't fight it. I had my phone on Do Not Disturb in my Bible at 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday. And I picked up my phone just to pick it up to, just to see, because nobody called me. And I had multiple missed calls. And I looked and I was like, okay, this is for my brother. So I knew it's got to be urgent. But it's like I knew. The thought in my mind was, don't let my mother's passing be how you fund this book. It was. It absolutely was. And it's one of those moments where, y'all, there are some things we'll never understand, because the honest to God truth is, he could have did it another way. It could have happened another way. I had been praying about my book being published since Mother's Day. That was May. Nobody was looking for my mother to not be okay. We thought she was going to be well, that she was going to, first of all, nobody thought she was going to have the diagnosis that she had. But I remember one day in my spirit, the thought came up and I was like, God, no. I know that I'm asking you to do something and I don't know how you're going to do it. But I was like, I don't want it to be like this. And I know I'm not the only person who has had something show up that you prayed for. But the way that you got it, if you could be honest, you would have said, I don't know if I would have asked for it if I knew that this is how the door was going to be open. It happened. It happened. July, August, September, October. 3 months after my mother's passing, my book was published. So 1 year from the date that I started it, it was published. I started it in October of 2024 or 2023. My book was published in October, at the end of October 2024. And a part of my thing, I said, God, I never got to tell her. She never knew that I was writing the book. She never knew about the manuscript. She never knew. But guess what? The thing is, I can say this today. I'm not the only one that wrote a book. My mama did. And I want to cry. I want to cry because I know that what I'm getting ready to see, this was a part of my 3.5-year process. I lived and I spoke. They say you speak a thing, you're going to see a thing. I spoke so often to that woman that she was. And we would laugh and we would joke. And I said, Mama, when I go where I'm going, you're going too. I just knew I was taking her with me. I said, you know, when I have to go on these stages and I go on these platforms and I get to go on, because I said I'm going on talk shows and all these different things. I said, when I get to travel and I do these things, I said, Mama, you're the only one that I can see going with me. You're the only one that I trust to, you know, travel with me and to have the girls. And she was like, yeah, because ain't nobody gonna mess with the girls. It's always about the girls. And I looked and I said, the moment that everything changed. God really began to show me that, Ladisha, you really have to trust in me. You don't know the future. You don't know who's going with you. You don't know who's going ahead. But I'm going to tell you, this is one of the most painful things. You don't know what is going to be. I don't know if I want to say it's taken or it's lost. You don't know what God is going to require you to let go of to go to the level that you don't know what he's going to require of you to get to the very place that you prayed for. I didn't know that the one person that I thought was going to be everywhere all the time for everything, I was going to have to do life without her. My mama is a published author too. Because had it not been for the hell that we live, I say the hell we lived through, had it not been for the story, had it not been for the accounts that I wrote about, because this book is really about a mother and a daughter. Like, it's about my life, but my mama was my life. A good portion of my life was with that woman. And so I look today, and I didn't know I was going to share this, but maybe I'm supposed to. I wouldn't be who I am without our story. I wouldn't have the mind frame that I have without the good, but it's really, I wouldn't be who I am without the bad. I would not have the heart that I have had I not been crushed the way that I was. And in writing this, in having to heal, and having to forgive my mother for things that, you know what, she probably didn't even, it wasn't, I know it wasn't intentional, but the enemy was intentional. And I've had to sit down and I've had to allow the Lord to show me my mother's scars so that I could understand how I got scarred. I've had to sit down and understand the bruises that she carried in the spirit, so that I could understand how I got bruised to the depth and the severity. But this is the thing. God knew that his powerful was powerful enough to redeem me. He knew that his goodness was good enough to redeem the story. And I'm going to say this. There's going to be another book. I'm speaking it right now as I process. There's going to be another book. But what is going to be the contrast? To say, God, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that a broken woman raised me. I'm thankful that a bruised woman raised me. Why? Because it has allowed for me to see a redemption story. But let me tell you also why. There's purpose in our pain. What's my purpose? I believe that because of the relationship that I had, and let me go find my picture. It's my live. I can do it. Because to me, this is the beginning of our redemption story. So I say this may need to be the cover page of the next book. Because of the relationship that me and my mama had, because I walk in truth, because I walk vulnerable, because I have a voice and I've not let the enemy shut me up, I honestly believe that the forefront of my ministry is going to be bringing families together. It's going to be creating rooms where mothers and daughters can come in and they can heal. There may be somebody who says my mama's gone. I know I can help you too. There's somebody who says my daughter will not have anything to do with me. I'm a mother. Okay. Hey, let me sit down with you too. But I understand that the enemy didn't get the last say, so he didn't get the last laugh. I do. Why? He thought that he was going to be able to strip me. He thought that he was going to be able to have me. And he thought that he was going to be able to ruin me. But what I have been able to do is say, enemy, I'm not just coming back for what you did to me. I'm coming back for what you did to my mama. I'm coming back to how you destroyed her childhood. I'm coming back for the things that the lies that you told her. I'm not just coming back for what you owe me. I'm coming back for what you owe the women in my bloodline. I'm coming back for where you stripped my grandmother mentally. I'm coming back for the promises that the women before me, they should have saw years and years and years and generations ago. But because they didn't get it, I'm the ambassador for the family. And the Lord in the spirit realm has given me a right to show up in heaven and say, Ladisha, you can claim that. You can claim the territorial rights. You can claim the generational, not the curses. You can claim the blessings that they didn't see. They may have walked into it. They may have saw glimpses of it. He says, but what they didn't see, you have the ability and the access to show up in the spirit, and you can claim those rights. You can claim that territory. You can claim those blessings. And so I say this. One, I had to heal my mother fully for me to even be able to get to this point, because he told me if I don't forgive her, I forfeit my rights. If I don't forgive her, I can't do the full assignment of the Lord. Let me say this. Forgiving my mother is going to be a part of the reason why I walk into the wealth that I walk into. Why? There's businesses that my mama didn't get to produce. Who you think is going to do them? I am. But there's also, let me say this. The enemy has to repay me double, triple, quadruple fold for my trouble. We don't know why we've had to go through 3.5 years of drought. But I can say, when I say that there is abundance, I know I already got another book that I've started. There's another book in me. But not only is there a book in me, there is a system and there is a program and there is a process where I will have the privilege of sitting with other women in a room, young, old, maybe multiple generations, where there is a mother, there is a daughter, there is a grandmother, and to be able to sit them in a room and we be able to have open conversation and open dialogue and say, look, we're going to forgive. I want to be the reason that mothers and daughters are able to live a transformed life while they're still living. So this is what I look at. What I didn't get to do with my mother while she was still living, I'm going to be able to carry her into a room. And even though she may not physically be in that place, she may not actually be sitting there, she's in me. A part of her I will always carry. Because without my mama being who she was, in the fullness of herself, I would not be the woman that I am. I wouldn't walk in the beauty. I wouldn't walk in the grace. I wouldn't walk in the, let me say this. I wouldn't walk in the humility that I walk in. Some of the things my mother didn't teach me directly, she taught me indirectly, meaning this. The things that I used to cry about when I felt like I didn't have a voice. Now I know how to be silent at the right time. When you heal, the very things that you used to cry about, you'll begin to rejoice for. I know how to humble myself. I know how not to feel like I have to have the last word. All of that was instilled in me in my childhood. It didn't come pretty. But I've allowed the Lord to take my broken pieces. I've allowed for him to mend me into a beautiful new garment. And instead of crying, saying, woe is me, I get to rejoice and say, God, I'm so glad that I am me. I'm so glad that broken turned into beautiful. I'm so glad that you make beautiful things from ashes and dust. I'm so glad that I serve a redeemer. And it's no different from your story either. Just, you know, we have to heal. Healing is a choice. Healing does not happen by accident. And so I told him today, I said, I don't know when the business is going to kick up off the ground. But because of my breakthrough, because of my pain, I now get to walk in my purpose. And a part of my purpose is going to be walking other people through their own healing journey. One day I'm going to have a facility. One day people are going to be able to walk in and say, Ladisha, I need help. And I'm not going to have a psych ward. No, I'm going to have a place that's built off the foundations of the kingdom. Biblical healing. Some people can be released and freed the moment that they forgive. We don't understand the weight of unforgiveness, and that's my message. I'm not going to me. I have to preach unforgiveness, about unforgiveness and the gift of forgiveness, the same way that John the Baptist had to preach about repentance. There is healing held up in forgiveness. And I also believe that there's purpose. I believe there's provision. I believe there's prevision when we can forgive the same way that Jesus Christ forgave us. Jesus was transformed. He was on that cross. He said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They put him in that tomb 3 days. Okay? 3 days. When he got up and he went back, they didn't recognize him until they saw the scars that were in his hands and the scars that were in his side. When you allow yourself to go through transformation, when you let go of everything that has ever happened to you and you lay it at the cross and you trust God and you go through that process where he has to pull you away, I'm telling you the same will be for you. When they see you, they will not be able to recognize you. They'll only be able to recognize you because there's going to be glimpses of your scars. Not because you're trying to show your scars, not because your scars are going to be evidence of anything. The scars are just a reminder that you are who you are. God didn't take the scars, but he removed the sting of the scar. So he's not going to take the scars because he needs your scars to be a reminder. This is really her. This is really him. They just don't look the same. Why? Because they went through a moment of transformation. So for those of us who have gone through the 3 years, the 3.5 years, you felt like you were in a tomb. You felt like you were buried. You were not. You were planted by God. And this is the season. But I'm speaking, this is the month. This is the month of transformation. This is the month of transfiguration. This is the month that God is getting ready to reveal what he has been preparing in private. I love y'all. It's the 4th of July. Go enjoy yourself. But just know things are not going to look like they've been looking. And it's going to happen quickly because you're going to hear the abundance before you see the abundance. I love y'all and have a blessed Friday.